Hello, if you want to watch exclusive lemon content on What If Naruto, then go to my Boosty. The first link in the description here contains such hot stories for adults, such as What If Naruto was a daddy for Sarada, or Kushina and Mikoto vulgar Naruto mommies. Follow the link and enjoy. I'm waiting for you.
Greetings and a hug. Naruto Uzumaki was bored. I was sitting at the back of the classroom, listening to Iruka-sensei, and talking non-stop about the historical and geopolitical climate of Kanawagakure, the hidden village of the leaf, and its founders, Esirama Senju and Madara Uchiha. Naruto didn't like the story. He enjoyed science, mathematics, ninjutsu and chakra theory, subjects on which he spent many hours in the Konoha library reading. But the subjects at the academy were so boring that I wanted to do something fun. It had been a year since the third Kage, Irasen Sarutobi, enrolled him in the ninja academy. The third Kage had told him that it would be the perfect place for him to become strong, since all the most powerful ninjas in the village went there. After more than a year at the academy, Naruto began to doubt what the old man had told him. They hadn't even learned any jutsu or started taijutsu training. Naruto thought that he would have to improve his training regime to really progress during his stay there, instead of letting his brain atrophy by learning a bunch of useless nonsense for the next few years. But at that moment, I was stuck in that boring class, with no possible escape. He looked at his two friends, Choji Akimichi and Shikamaru Nara, who were sitting next to him. They seemed as bored as he was. Choji was eating some French fries, while Shikamaru had his head resting on the table in front, trying to sleep while Iruka continued with the class. Naruto smiled mischievously. I had an idea. He took a paper and a pencil out of his backpack and started drawing. He drew Iruka-sensei, with a thick lip, squinted eyes and donkey ears. He added some details, such as a sandwich that said I love ramen, and a heart-shaped sticker that said Okage-sama is my senpai. He let out a giggle. He was proud of his masterpiece. He showed it to Choji, who burst out laughing, and then he showed it to Kiba, who was to Choji's right, who also laughed. Their amusement was short-lived, as Iruka, noticing the laughter, turned to the boys and said, "Could you explain to me what is so funny?" The boys' faces paled when they looked up and saw their sensei staring at them. "Nothing, sensei," Chuji said, trying to hide the photograph. "Yes, not at all, Iruka-sensei," Naruto exclaimed with a silly face as he crumpled up the drawing and threw it on the ground to get rid of the evidence. "Fuck, what a load," Shikamaru muttered as he leaned his head back on the desk. "For how hard you laughed, I see that something makes you grateful," Iruka said as he approached the trio. "You must concentrate. This knowledge is necessary to become great blade shinobi." He turned to them as they were sitting. "This is no time to waste time." He saw a crumpled piece of paper under the desk. "What is this?" Iruka picked up the paper ball and started smoothing it while Choji, Kiba and Naruto looked at him apprehensively. It took Iruka a couple of seconds to process the image before a huge checkmark appeared on his forehead. "Which one of you did this?" Iruka exclaimed while holding the representation of himself. Many students saw the photo and started laughing among themselves. "We don't know, sensei, we found him on the ground. I swear," Naruto shouted, fearing what would happen to him if Iruka found out who was behind this. "How did he end up here? Not the sixth before, and of course, I did not hear that they released anything," Iruka shouted at him. Just as he was about to continue his rant, the bell rang, signaling the end of class and the school day. Thank God. They thought Naruto, I Choji, and that I was going to the test, to take the opportunity to escape from the clutches of his sensei. "No way," Iruka exclaimed as he grabbed the three fleeing children by the collar of the shirt. "I still have to find out who was behind this. The rest can go home." The rest of the students left the rooms, feeling sorry for whoever was responsible. The three boys were placed in front of Iruka while he was holding the drawing. "It has to be one of you." The paper was near his desk and no one else saw anything on the floor. "So whoever it is, let him come forward," he said with a stern face. Choji and Kiba looked at each other before pointing their finger at Naruto, who was sitting between them. Sensei, why don't we stop the search for the culprit? Naruto said as he suddenly raised his hand. So it was you, Naruto? Iruka said as he punched Naruto in the head. Alas. That hurt, Sensei, Naruto said as he rubbed his head, feeling the pain of Iruka's punch. He looked to his left and right and saw Choji and Kiba laughing at him. Come on, Naruto, if you want to be a ninja, you have to concentrate. Iruka shouted. If your classes weren't so boring, maybe I'd pay attention to them. Naruto replied. Who cares about history? She's so boring. When are we going to get to the good stuff and learn your cool jutsus? Iruka sighed. He had seen Naruto's potential and wanted the best for him, but the boy almost never showed up. He was always slacking off, and had no respect for people in authority, especially older ones. Besides, he could be very annoying. Iruka looked down at the white-haired boy and stared into his eyes. Naruto was wearing a light blue sweatshirt with a red swirl on the back, black shorts and black sandals. His eyes matched the color of his sweatshirt and almost seemed to reflect the color of the sky. There was something in those eyes that made Iruka uneasy. They were too blue and seemed to have a tremendous power that scared him. Iruka didn't let that fear lead him to hate Naruto. I had long ago repressed the hatred I felt for him. From time to time, if I felt anger towards the guy. The attack of the nine-tailed demon fox, the Kikui, a beast that had devastated the village. The day of Naruto's birth had caused so much pain and destruction. The beast had killed many shinobi and civilians that day, including Iruka's parents, leaving him an orphan at the age of 10. It was natural for me to hate Naruto, but I just couldn't. How could I blame a child born on the same day for the destruction caused by the Nine Tails? Since that day when he and Kakashi saved Naruto from the spies of Takigakure, the hidden village of the waterfall, Iruka had promised himself not to let hatred consume him and to be the best teacher possible for Naruto. That's not the point, Naruto. Having a large arsenal of jutsus does not make you the strongest. The key is to have the wisdom, knowledge and intelligence to know when and where to use your jutsus. A ninja's greatest tool is his ability to keep his hidden cards until the perfect moment. Do you understand? Iruka said with sincerity in the look. Naruto looked at Iruka with a wide smile. Yes, sensei. The three of you can leave now. The only thing I ask of you is to strive and become great shinobi, Iruka said. The three boys got up and ran out from the classroom. Iruka sighed as he was on his way to meet up with the other teachers at the academy. Hopefully my words will reach them one day, he thought as he walked towards the staff room. Hey, Naruto, are you okay? Choji asked as they walked through the halls. That punch from Iruka-sensei seemed to hurt. He must be mad at you. Naruto rubbed his head, still feeling the pain that Iruka-sensei had inflicted on him. I'm fine. It's always bothering me. I'm just trying to have some fun and liven up the atmosphere. It's so boring to have to sit and listen to it all day. We never do anything interesting. It would be nice to learn some jutsu or practice a little. Yes, I know what you mean, Kiba replied. I want to learn how to fight with Akamaru. I'll probably ask my mom to teach Akamaru and me some interesting techniques. Shikamaru sighed. You guys are such heavies. Why don't you follow the rules and listen to him? It would make no sense for one-year students to learn flashy techniques. Also, ninjutsu and taijutsu are not as easy as you think. They require a lot of chakra control, endurance and intelligence. You have to learn the basics first, before the more advanced techniques. I guess you're right, Naruto replied. It's just that he makes the class so boring that it would help Iruka tell a joke once in a while. Suddenly, Naruto came up with a brilliant idea. He ran forward and exclaimed, You know what? One day I will be a teacher at the academy, and I will make learning fun again. I will make sure that my students laugh and have fun, and that jokes are mandatory. You'll see. Naruto smiled, his blue eyes shining. Shikamaru rolled his eyes. Yeah, whatever. Keep dreaming, Naruto. He put his hands to the back of his head. Also, what made you want to be a teacher? Let alone believe that you have the qualities to be a good one, he asked. Naruto winked at him. I feel the desire to burn in my soul, it's my destiny. And secondly, who wouldn't want to be my student? Naruto said as he put his arm around his friend. My charisma and my undeniable attractiveness would conquer any student. Right, Choji? He added, looking at Choji, who was dying of laughter with his antics. Shikamaru shook his head. You have no choice, Naruto. You have no idea what it means to be a teacher. It's about being responsible, patient, and wise. It's about guiding the next generation and passing on your knowledge and skills, Shikamaru said with a serious tone. Gee, Shikamaru, you're a party pooper. Naruto pouted and stuck out his tongue. The boys continued talking to each other until they reached the door of the academy, where they separated. See you tomorrow, losers, Naruto said, sticking out his tongue. I'm going to train to become a real ninja. It doesn't matter, Naruto. Don't get yourself killed, Shikamaru said with a yawn. I'm going home to take a nap. I'm too tired to deal with you. Me too. I'm hungry. I need some fries, Chuji said, rubbing his stomach. Goodbye, Shikamaru. Goodbye, Naruto. Goodbye, Kiba. Come on, Akamaru. Let's go for a walk. We need fresh air, Kiba said, petting his dog. The guys waved goodbye, and Naruto started heading to the training camp. I could hear the laughter and joy of the other children as they hugged their parents warmly. As he was leaving the academy, Naruto noticed that the parents were staring at him, placing their children behind them and whispering to each other. He managed to hear fragments of their conversations in a low voice where they called him a monster and dangerous, a phrase that was repeated to him daily. What are they looking at? Do you have something to say? Naruto asked. The parents were puzzled, surprised that Naruto could hear them. Nervous and uncomfortable, they quickly walked away, leaving him alone. Naruto's eyes reflected a mixture of frustration, anger, and sadness. He put his hands in his pockets and headed to Training Camp 11. Konoha Training Camp 11. When Naruto arrived, he dropped his backpack with weights, books, and rope. He began to stretch and loosen his muscles, preparing for the intense workout that awaited him. He stretched calves, hamstrings, hips, chest, arms, and back, feeling the burning and sweat. He knew that pain was the price of power, and he was willing to pay it to become the strongest. It started with a warm-up of 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and 100 squats. She then performed a series of calisthenics exercises, such as jumping jacks, lunges, and burpees. Afterwards, he ran around the training ground, dodging the obstacles and traps he had set. He jumped logs, ducked to dodge cables, and avoided cribs and whispers that shot out of hidden gadgets. He moved with speed and agility, fine-tuning his reflexes and their perception of the environment. Normally, a child wouldn't be doing this at this hour, as they'd probably have to get home before their parents got worried. But this was not the case with Naruto, as he had been alone for as long as he could remember. He lived in an orphanage, but he was expelled when he turned 4. That's when the villagers started looking at him differently. He didn't know why, and he had long since stopped caring. From what he could gather, it all seemed to have to do with the Kikbi attack on his birthday. He had heard the villagers call him a demon every time he passed through the village. In addition, every time he tried to buy food, clothes, books, or even look at items in a store, the owner refused him entry or charged him an outrageous amount. The villagers were spitting at him and looking at him with pure disgust, fear, and hatred. They told their children to avoid the demon, so Naruto was often alone. Naruto thought it was complete stupidity. How could he be responsible for the destruction if he had been born on the same day? Anyone with 2 fingers in front would understand. Also, from what he had learned about the nine-tailed fox in Konoha's library, it was known that the beast was made of chakra and was immortal. It was illogical that Naruto was the reincarnation of the beast. All this only made him hate the villagers even more for their ignorance. He had learned in the Konoha library that a human vessel, a Hinshkriki, was created to contain the power of beasts like the Kikubi. These beasts were called big. Hinshkriki possessed huge chakra reserves compared to an average shinobi, and in some cases, They could even use the chakra of the big one sealed inside. However, it was also claimed that the Hinchkriki had unique chakra signatures, due to the mixture of their chakra and that of the big inside. The strange thing that confused Naruto was that he could perceive any chakra signature that described the Ninetales in the village. Although his sensory abilities were weak and still developing, he had scoured the entire village looking for a unique chakra signature. But he found nothing, not even a faint trace. That's when he stopped looking for answers. He thought about asking the old man, but that would lead to a lot of questions from the Hokage that Naruto didn't want to answer. He preferred to keep his secrets like everyone else. Naruto sat on a nearby rock, panting and sweating after his training. He pulled a water bottle out of his backpack and drank, feeling the cool liquid ease his throat. The sun hadn't set yet, so he had enough time to sit down and rest before heading back to his apartment. I needed to practice other skills, such as chakra control, ninjutsu and taijutsu, but now I couldn't. He felt a presence watching him from inside the forest. He had felt that presence before, ever since his senses were awakened. He noticed two different chakra signatures following him around the village, watching his every move. He could distinguish that they were two different people, but he did not know who they were and why they were watching him. The only thing he could discern from their chakra signatures was that one radiated heat and the other cold. He supposed that the warm one was that of the old man, the Hokage, spying on him. He was not worried too much, since the Hokage was one of the few people who treated him with kindness. But from the other chakra, I didn't know who it belonged to. He assumed it was a shinobi assigned by the Konoha Council to keep an eye on him. I couldn't feel anything about that person, just coldness and emptiness. For as long as he could remember, Konoha's advice had been a constant source of annoyance to Naruto. He met them after being expelled from the orphanage at the age of 4. There were rumors circulating that he was the reincarnation of Kikubi. In addition, the orphanage staff informed the Hokage that the other children were afraid of their unusual blue eyes. The Hokage ordered an investigation, suspecting that Naruto had awakened a Dimjutsu, a rare and powerful eye ability. However, they found no signs or indications of abnormalities in his chakra. His flow seemed normal. This led to numerous accusations against Naruto and the Hokage, that the child had created this to get attention, that Irizen was too lenient, that it was a trick of the devil, etc. Naruto had seen the pain in the Hokage's eyes as he defended him from the council's derogatory comments, which branded him a monster and a mistake. Naruto came to believe that everyone was a coward, hiding behind their titles and positions of power. These unfounded accusations and ruthless judgments fueled their distrust and dislike towards the council. The Konoha Council was composed of 3 sub-councils: the Civil Council, the Shinobi Council, and the Council of Elders. Each had their roles and responsibilities in Konoha's intricate political landscape. The Civil Council was made up of the civilian entrepreneurs of Konoha, who produced clothes, food, offered labor, and other services. They could submit complaints or requests to the Hokage to obtain funding, protection, or help for their projects. They also collaborated with the other councils to provide services to the village and the shinobi. Although they lacked political influence, they harbored resentment towards Naruto, blaming him for the death of the 4th Hokage. They saw him as a burden and a threat, and they wanted him to disappear. The Shinobi Council, composed of clan chiefs and high-ranking ninjas, wielded influence thanks to their collective strength. They were responsible for presenting missions to the Hokage, collaborating with him in planning the academy's curriculum, maintaining order in the village, and training powerful shinobi. They constituted the backbone of Konoha's military and economic power. However, Naruto was still, in his eyes, a mere addition. A loud, childish, arrogant brat. They ignored him and his potential, focusing on their own interests and goals. The Council of Elders, consisting of Omura Mitokado, Koru Tetane, and Dans Mishimura, played a crucial role in the governance of Konoha. They were the Hokage's advisors and worked with him to ensure that all decisions were made with the welfare of Konoha and its inhabitants in mind. The members of this council could offer the Hokage their opinions and advice, considering all possibilities and perspectives. Although the Hokage had the last word, they were the guardians of Konoha's traditions and secrets, and had the power to shape its future. For now, Naruto remained in the corner of his eye, unnoticed and considered insignificant. But they had plans for him, plans he wasn't aware of. Naruto wondered what they wanted from him. I could not understand his intentions. Did they see him as a weapon or a pawn in their political games? The truth was slipping away from him, buried under layers of lies. But I would find out, one way or another. He shook his head. He needed to get stronger before he could face them. Naruto got up from the rock. His next step was to find a way to hide from those prying eyes. Finding a place where training in peace would help you achieve your goal and become stronger, faster, smarter, and better. He got up and stretched out his arms. He decided to go back to his apartment and take a shower, since he couldn't concentrate on anything important if they kept watching him. He picked up his backpack and threw it on his shoulder. He turned around and started walking towards home. He stopped when he perceived a new chakra signal behind his back. He frowned and looked over his shoulder. I was sick of it. Naruto decided to confront whoever was watching him. He saw a boy standing on the branch of a tree, hidden in the forest, looking at him with curiosity and interest. The boy had black hair, pale skin, and dark eyes. He was wearing a black long-sleeved shirt with a turtleneck, white shorts, and black sandals. He wore a red and white fan symbol on his back, indicating that he belonged to the Uchiha clan, one of the most prestigious and powerful clans in the village. Naruto felt a surge of annoyance and suspicion. Who was that guy, and what was he doing there? How long had she been spying on him, and what had she witnessed? I had seen him in class before, but they had never exchanged a word. He yelled at the boy. Hey, get out of there, you weirdo. Who are you and what do you want, huh? The boy blinked and jumped out of the tree, surprised that he had been seen from so far away. He walked towards Naruto with a calm and serene expression, as if nothing had happened. He said, I am Sasuke Uchiha. I was just passing by and happened to come across your training, that's all. Naruto was intrigued. I had heard very well about Sasuke and his abilities. I could see the hidden potential he possessed. That excited him, thinking that Sasuke could be a great training partner and ally in the future. Well, Sasuke Uchiha, I am the great Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto replied, striking a pose. Were you impressed by my greatness or what? No, I've seen better, Sasuke stated indifferently. You're not that awesome, you know. Naruto frowned at his comments. So, what are you doing here, huh? Training, I guess. Yes, but I heard noises in the distance and decided to go and see what was going on. And how did you see me? It was about 10 meters away, Sasuke asked, confused, because he thought he was well hidden. Naruto smiled. Well, my friend, that's a secret you'll have to find out, he said, winking at her. A shinobi never reveals his tricks. Sasuke looked at Naruto with an expressionless expression. This guy is annoying, he thought. And by annoying he meant exactly. Infuriating? I bet you were thinking. How heavy is this guy? Naruto exclaimed, dying of laughter. Yes, it shows on your face. You look like a grumpy cat. A huge vein formed on Sasuke's forehead. His blood was boiling, and he felt the veins running out of his face. Head. I was tired of Naruto. I was about to explode. Sasuke grabbed Naruto by the collar of his shirt. You're going to shut up already, she screamed, shaking him. Naruto smiled sardonically. No, I won't. You'll have to get used to it, best friend, he said, teasing him. We're not friends, Sasuke said, releasing Naruto. It was a mistake to come here, he added before leaving. Hey, wait. What do you think about this? Naruto said, reaching for him. Let's make a run to that tree over there. If I win, you'll be my best friend. But if you win, I won't bother you anymore. It's a done deal. Sasuke turned around and looked Naruto in the eyes. Are you serious? So if I win, will you leave me alone, as long as you live? Yes, yes, stop acting like a child now. Naruto said. We're sticking to the deal, he added, holding out his hand for Sasuke to shake. Sasuke reluctantly shook Naruto's hand and made his way to the starting position. I didn't trust Naruto, but I was willing to take the risk of never having problems with that idiot again. This shouldn't be too difficult, Sasuke thought as he adopted a fighting stance. After all, he was faster and smarter than Naruto. Okay, I'm gonna count to 3. 1, 2 and Naruto ran. 3. He shouted, already ahead. Hey, that's cheating. Sasuke exclaimed, desperately trying to catch up with him and escape that horrible fate. I couldn't believe I had fallen into such a simple trap. It was too late when Naruto reached the tree, touched it with his hand, and raised it in triumph. He had won the race. Ha ha ha, looks like you're my best friend now. Naruto shouted, sticking his tongue out at him. Sasuke was terrified when he realized his new situation. He had lost his career and his freedom. Now I was stuck with Naruto. At that very moment, a voice called to them from behind. Sasuke, what are you doing out here so late? He said. They turned around and saw a tall young man. He had long black hair, pale skin, and onyx-colored eyes. He was wearing a black turtleneck shirt and gray shorts, and was wearing a metal bandana with the Konoha symbol. He sported the Uchiha emblem on his back, which indicated that he was Sasuke's clanmate. Oh, Itachi. I didn't expect you to come back so soon, Sasuke replied. I went out to train after the academy. I guess I lost track of time, he said, looking around and noticing that the sun was starting to set. It's okay, Sasuke. Let's go back before it gets dark, Itachi replied sweetly. Naruto watched them with curiosity and amazement. He assumed that it was a relative of Sasuke, probably an older brother, but he looked young. No more than 5 years older, and yet he exuded an aura of power. Naruto sensed him and noticed that his maturity exceeded his age. Wow, 241, Naruto thought. He was glad that he had come that day, because he had the opportunity to meet these extraordinary brothers. With an incredible latent power, Naruto cleared his throat and said, Itachi Uchiha, Sasuke Uchiha's older brother, I guess. Your chakra and your height are quite refined for someone so young. You must be an exceptional shinobi. Thank you for your kind words. You are very observant and insightful. You have the qualities to become an excellent shinobi one day. What's your name? Itachi asked. I am Naruto Uzumaki, Naruto replied. Well, Naruto, it was nice to meet you. Unfortunately, Sasuke and I have to go back. Before it gets dark, Itachi said. Yeah, well, it was nice meeting you, Itachi. See you later, my best friend. Naruto said before running out. Best friend? Itachi asked, arching an eyebrow as he looked at Sasuke. Sasuke sighed. It's a long story. I'll tell you about it later, he said before leaving with Itachi. Ramen with Oichiraku. It's been a long day for Naruto. He had met extraordinary people who piqued his interest. I wonder if there will be more interesting people, he thought as he walked through the village. His stomach roared, a sign that he was exhausted and hungry after his workout. Naruto decided to enter a ramen stand. There was no one there at that time, which was good for him. He needed to regain strength, relax and forget about prying eyes. He sat down at the bar and waited. After a while, the owner came out from behind the counter with a welcoming smile. Hi, how are you? Toiki, the owner of the store, started, but was interrupted when he saw the white-haired young man sitting at the counter. Naruto, bracing himself for the usual suspicion, replied with an irritated tone. What do you want, man? Toiki, surprised by the boy's defensive attitude, quickly recovered. Oh, nothing. I'm sorry I looked at you. It's just that I rarely have such young clients, especially at this hour. You seem nervous. Can I offer you something? He asked, genuinely concerned. Surprised by the warmth on Toiki's countenance, Naruto relaxed a little. Oh, I'm sorry, don't worry. I'm just tired and hungry, he admitted, his stomach roaring. I'd like a big bowl of miso chasu pork ramen with extra pork and egg, please. Toiki wrote down the order. Okay, what's the name of the order? Naruto? Okay, Naruto. Your ramen will be ready in a few minutes. Wait a moment, I'll bring it to you, Toiki said as he returned to the kitchen. Naruto was alone with his thoughts, reflecting on his training and how to get stronger, when a voice interrupted his meditations. "Hey," said a voice. Naruto looked up and saw a young woman with light skin, dark brown hair, and black eyes. She would have been about his age. She was wearing a white tunic with the sleeves folded up, a dark blue apron, and a white scarf tied over her hair. His presence was both unexpected and intriguing. The girl approached with a kind smile. "Hello? I'm Ayami. My dad told me that you ordered the pork ramen with miso and chasu. That's my favorite one too." Naruto, surprised by his genuine kindness, gave a slight smile. "Hi Ayami, I'm Naruto. Nice to meet you." They began to talk. While Toiki was preparing Naruto's order, the ramen stand was transformed from a simple place to eat into an unexpected refuge, where Naruto felt an atism of acceptance and warmth. They continued their conversation, while the sun was setting on the horizon, tinting the sky with orange and pink tones that reflected the warmth of their nascent friendship. The aroma of steaming ramen filled the air, mingling with the melodies of their laughter and their chatter. As night fell, their conversations ranged from dreams and goals to favorite foods and hobbies, exchanging stories and jokes. "It's getting late, there I loved. It's time to close up shop," Toiki said. "Please, Dad, can we stay out here a little longer?" "Please," pleaded Ayami. "I'm sorry, honey, we have to rest up for the busy day tomorrow." "Naruto needs to get some sleep too," Toiki said, looking at Naruto. "I'll come by tomorrow," Ayami replied Naruto. "Okay," said Ayami. "Goodbye Naruto, it was nice to meet you," she said waving at him. He returned the greeting, while Ayami was heading to where her father was closing the store. Naruto started on the way home. Maybe they're not so bad, he thought as he walked towards the village. As Naruto was approaching his apartment, he noticed a group of villagers following him. They were sneaking up on me as I was leaving Ichirakurum, increasing the distance at every step. Wow, they had to ruin my day, he thought. He shouted at them from behind, in a voice full of sarcasm. "Isn't it a little weird to follow a child at this time of day? I thought this was a town of peace and love," he said scornfully. Naruto turned to face the large crowd of villagers. They were carrying orcus, broken bottles and baits, with the intention of causing pain. Naruto smiled maliciously and decided to have some fun with them. "Are you here to bow down to the mighty demon? Or are you here to beg for mercy?" He provoked Naruto. Naruto's words angered the crowd, causing some to pounce on him in hopes of surprising him. However, Naruto was too fast for them. Even against a child, the villagers had no chance. He dodged their clumsy attacks and disappeared. A chubby villager who had pounced on Naruto to impale him with his orca was left stabbing the air, wondering where he had gone. "Where did he go? Did you find him?" Some of them murmured in the crowd. "You shouldn't be so reckless," Naruto said from the top of a lamppost. He was standing with his hands in his pockets. "I was not the one who attacked your precious village," he added. "Shut up, demon," one shouted. "You are to blame for the fact that we have lost so many people," said another. "You are to blame for us living in fear. You are the one responsible for the destruction of the Leaf Village. You are the reincarnation of the fox," they exclaimed. "Ha! Don't make me laugh," Naruto replied. "I don't know what's more stupid. To believe that I am the fox, or to think that I am to blame for the death of your beings, that the only ones to blame for their deaths are you." The crowd was silent. "If you had been stronger, you could have protected them," Naruto said, tilting his head slightly. "Attributing reasons and responsibilities to death is typical of the weak," he added. "You are weak," Naruto stated. That was the trigger for the mob, which erupted into a frenzy. They pounced on Naruto with a roar. They wanted him to pay for their suffering with his. Naruto dodged and evaded their attacks with ease, using his enhanced perception to anticipate them. They were villagers, not shinobi, so most of them lacked real training. He laughed and made fun of them. He had fun playing with them. However, their fun was interrupted by the arrival of the Chinen ninjas, who, hearing the commotion, came to investigate. They saw Naruto surrounded by angry villagers who were trying to harm him. "What's going on here?" One of the Chinen asked. Wait, it's him. The other exclaimed as he recognized Naruto. The demon said with eyes full of hatred. You're dead, kid. They pounced on Naruto, eager for revenge on the demon responsible for the death of his parents. Damn it. Naruto thought. The villagers were nothing, but these were trained ninjas, much faster and stronger. I was at a clear disadvantage. He quickly decided to take advantage of his only advantage, the view. He concentrated her on the two Chinen charging at him and analyzed their every move. He could see the attacks as if they were moving in slow motion, but he wasn't fast enough to dodge them. He tried to keep his distance, but the two Chinen were relentless. He was punched in the stomach and coughed up blood. Naruto tried to counterattack with his left, but was easily blocked. Then they grabbed his arm, swung him, and threw him against a wall. He was then kicked several times in the back of the head, fracturing his ribs and causing internal bleeding. They were determined to end the demon once and for all. Naruto couldn't compete with them. Ha 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 ha, who's the weak one now, brat? One villager jeered as the crowd cheered at the sight of Naruto's pain. Naruto, bloodied, bruised and barely breathing, tried to get up and fight back, but he couldn't do anything. He was too young and weak. He could sense their attacks, but he couldn't take advantage of any opportunities due to the difference in speed and strength. He felt helpless and angry with himself. One of them took a crib and out of his bag and shouted, "Die," while throwing it towards Naruto's head. The sharp metal blade glistened in the moonlight as it streaked through the air, straight to end its life. I can't believe this is the end. Humph, things were just starting to get interesting, Naruto thought. He prepared for the end. However, something strange happened. Everything around him began to slow down. He usually possessed heightened perception, but this was different. Everything was frozen, and he could see, hear and feel everything around him. It was the first time something like that had happened to him. Just at that moment, a voice echoed in his head. This is how you want your story to end. Naruto looked back and saw an older man with long white hair, his bangs brushing his eyes. He had a scar on the right side of his lip and was wearing a dark right now. The old man radiated confidence, dominance and power. He looked at Naruto, revealing that they shared the same eyes. Show them your power, the old man ordered, his eyes shining. In that instant, Naruto felt an avalanche of information flood his mind. Instinctively, he formed a hand seal, the seal of the half-tiger Rambar. A wall emerged from Naruto, slowing down the cradle, and as he got closer. The speed of the cradle and decreased infinitely as it approached Naruto, to the point of seeming suspended in the air. I was completely shocked. Is this the power I was talking about? Naruto asked himself. Well, said the old man. Use this power and your eyes to become the strongest, he said earlier. Before vanishing. Before Naruto could react, he felt a surge of exhaustion and dizziness. He had tried too hard and had exhausted his chakra by using that skill. He fell to the ground, unconscious. The villagers and the Chinen were shocked and terrified by what they had witnessed. They had never seen such a power that defied logic and reality. They were paralyzed by fear and admiration. Before anyone could do anything else, an ambo squad arrived at the scene in a cloud of smoke. They wore black capes and animal masks to hide their identities. The Hokage had sent them when he felt a sudden increase in Naruto's chakra, indicating that the boy was possibly in danger. He ordered his Sambu to investigate what happened and protect Naruto if necessary. The squad arrived and found Naruto lying on the ground, bloodied, beaten, and unconscious. They saw the two Chunin and the mob of villagers with their guns in hand. The squad leader, Doc, stepped forward and said, Tiger, grab the kid and take him to a private room in the hospital. I will inform the Hokage and I will see you there. He looked at the other squad members and said, arrest the villagers and take the Chinen to the intelligence division for questioning. Yes, Captain. They responded before carrying out his orders. Tiger picked up Naruto, unconscious, and held him in his arms. but not before using the Shunsin no Jutsu, a body-twitching technique, and disappearing in a swirl of leaves, before reappearing in the Konoha hospital, where Naruto would receive medical attention. Dog questioned some witnesses to get their testimony, and, also disappearing in a swirl of leaves, went to the office of the Hokage to inform him of what had happened. Konoha Hospital. Naruto opened his eyes, feeling a stabbing pain in his head. He had been unconscious for an hour after his encounter with the villagers and the awakening of a new power. He was now in a hospital bed. When he opened his eyes completely, he was flooded with information. He could see, feel, and hear everything around him, but it was all blurry and overwhelming. He could see the rays of light from the lamp on him, hear the Hokage talking to the doctors in his room, and even feel the textures of the sheets. It was too much for him. All this information, flooding his brain, caused him immense tiredness and fatigue. He tried to get up on the bed, but he felt dizzy and weak. "Oh, my head." Naruto groaned. "Naruto, my son. How are you feeling?" the Hokage asked with a face full of worry and regret. Once again, he had failed to protect Naruto from the villagers' hatred. "I'm glad the Zanbu arrived on time. They found you in a very bad state," he said. "Physically I feel fine, but it hurts a lot. Very much the head. I feel like my brain is melting and it's dripping down my ears," Naruto said, rubbing the bridge between his eyes. Irisin looked Naruto in the eye, noticing the change. They were still blue, but now they had a peculiar brightness. He felt as if they were staring at him, reading his thoughts and feelings. He wondered what had happened to them, what potential power, if any, they possessed, and what that meant for the boy's future. "Did you say that you feel like your brain is going to explode?" Irisin asked. "Could you give me more details?" Naruto looked at Irisin. "I have always had good eyesight, hearing, and perception, but this is completely different. It's like everything is at its maximum. I can even see the chakra flow now, it's too much. I feel like everything is flooding my brain, hehe." He looked at Irisin shyly. "Do you understand? I wonder if it will be a new Mujutsu. It is unlike anything I have seen before. Will it be similar to the Sharingan, or even the Yakugan? Have to wait and see." Irisin pondered for a moment before returning to the doctor. "Is there anything that can help limit the amount of information you receive through your eyes?" Irisin asked. Perhaps one of the doctors replied. "I think I have something that can help." "Excuse me while I go get him," he said before leaving the room. "What happened to those who attacked me?" Naruto asked. "The civilians were arrested and jailed for attacking a minor and talking about classified information. As for the shinobi who attacked you, you will never see them again," Irisin said. "Okay," Naruto said. "I hate those cowards. They don't even have the guts to face me head-on." Irisin sighed and made a mental note to address Naruto's hatred later. The doctor returned a few minutes later with round dark glasses. "Here, try them on," he said, handing the glasses to Naruto. Naruto examined the glasses before putting them on, surprised that he could still see through them. "How are you feeling, Naruto?" Irisin asked, curious and hopeful. "Great. I don't feel as tired as I used to," Naruto replied, smiling in relief. "But can you see?" Irisin asked. "After all, they are completely dark." Naruto looked at the old man. He could see the chakra flowing through his body, in great quantity, and also his tenketsu points. Naruto was also able to vaguely distinguish 5 different types of chakra flowing through the old man. "I can't see you well, but I perceive the flow of your chakra. I can also make out 5 different chakras running through your body." "You have a lot of chakra," Naruto said, smiling. "You are very strong, Gigi." "I see," Irus said. "So, even if he is blindfolded, he can see the chakra in a similar way to Yakugan, and also the amount of chakra a person possesses. He was even able to distinguish my elementary affinities. Her eyes are really fascinating." "Thank you," Irisin said to the doctor before indicating Carl's to leave. "Rest up, Naruto. We'll talk tomorrow," he added before leaving. Naruto took off his glasses and left them on the nearby counter before surrendering to sleep. Naruto woke up to the birds singing outside his window. He changed his clothes, took his glasses, and went out. He walked to the entrance of the hospital and saw Hiruzen waiting for him. He wondered what the conversation would be about. "Good morning, Naruto. We take a little walk," Hiruzen said before making his way through. "Where are we going, Gigi?" Naruto asked as he walked out. "If it's for the report to the council, forget it," he said, somewhat agitated. Hiruzen laughed. "I know how much you enjoy those meetings, but no. I was going to walk you to your apartment. I'm not going to inform the council about your latest developments. I wanted to talk to you about a more serious matter," he said sternly. That piqued Naruto's interest. A conversation would be with the old man. That was something new. "Okay, but if we're going to have this conversation, we should probably do something with the guy who's been following me," Naruto said. Hiruzen narrowed his eyes as he continued walking, avoiding any action that might raise suspicions about the stalker. "How long has this been going on?" he asked. "Since I was 4 years old, I started to feel a strange chakra that followed me. It was cold and empty, but I never knew who it was," Naruto replied indifferently. "I assumed it was someone from the council, assigned to spy on me." "Do you know where he is?" Hiruzen asked. "Mom," Naruto lowered his glasses. He scanned the area, looking for the familiar chakra signature. "He's about 10 or 15 meters away. He's wearing one of those ambu masks with a black cape. I can't say for sure, but I get the feeling that it's the same person." "Understood," Hiruzen said. He motioned to 2 of his ambos, who were watching from the shadows, to take care of the matter. They received the signal and disappeared. After a few moments, the threat was neutralized. They informed the Hokage that the man had been detained for questioning. "Now that that's settled, what did you want to tell me?" Naruto asked as they continued walking. "I'm sure you're aware of the nine-tailed fox attack 6 years ago, on your birthday," Hiruzen said. "Yeah, how could I not? The villagers remind me of it every day," Naruto said bitterly. "Yes, unfortunately, but still, you know that the fox is made of pure chakra, and is immortal. If he were killed, he would regenerate over time. So the only option is to seal the beast inside someone, turning him into," and claimed Hiruzen. A hinchcrick. "Yes, I know the fox is sealed inside me, if that's what you meant," Naruto interrupted. Hiruzen's eyes widened, showing an expression of surprise and curiosity. "How?" "I've been trying to find the fox chakra signature since I was 4 years old. I gave up after a year of searching, but I found him in his cage last night," Naruto said nonchalantly. "Are you sure it was him?" Hiruzen asked skeptically. "A giant fox with 9 tails is pretty rare, so yeah, I'm sure it was him," Naruto replied sarcastically. "Did he say or ask for something?" Hiruzen asked anxiously. "No, he said I was strong, and that he expected to see my progress, and that was it," Naruto replied indifferently. Hiruzen nodded, still taking in the information. He wondered if the fox was hiding something more than they knew. "Is there anything else you need to tell me?" Naruto asked. Hiruzen felt, feeling a mixture of emotions. I was hoping that Naruto would receive well what I was going to say next. "Yes," Hiruzen said. "Now, Naruto, you must promise me that you will keep this secret until the right time. What I am about to reveal to you must remain between us." "It's a rank secret," that one added. "All right, Grandpa. What's the matter?" Naruto asked enthusiastically. Hiruzen took a deep breath before saying, "You are the son of the 4th Hokage, Naruto." Naruto's smile widened even more. I couldn't believe my ears. The 4th Hokage, considered one of the strongest shinobi in history, was now his father. "And my mother?" he asked. "She was an excellent and powerful kunoichi. Her name was Kushina Uzumaki. He belonged to the Uzumaki clan, known for its large reserves of chakra, his healing ability, and his specialty in Fukinjutsu," Hiruzen said. "Unfortunately, there are not many like them left. But she was also the previous 9-tailed fox Hinchkriki before you." "Humph, she must have been really strong," Naruto said. With pride. "Yes, it did," Hiruzen said sadly. "On the day of your birth, The nine-tailed fox was taken from your mother, causing massive destruction in the village. Your father, with no other choice, decided to seal the beast inside you to protect the village. I hope you don't hate your parents, Naruto. They really loved you and died for you. They wanted you to be a hero, not a demon, he claimed. Why would I hate them? Naruto replied. They were strong. Thanks to them, I have the power to be better. He turned his gaze towards Irizen, expressing gratitude and respect. The only people I hate are the villagers. They're pathetic insects clinging to life. Why should we protect them? He said, losing his composure. Naruto took a deep breath before saying, I can't wait to see their faces when they find out that the boy they've hated is the son of their beloved fourth Hokage. Irizen sighed, understanding Naruto's anger and resentment towards the villagers. He pondered what his late sensei would think of the current state of the village. The will to fire was weakening in the face of the growing darkness. However, his concerns went beyond the state of the village. They focused on Naruto's security, both against internal and external threats. No, Naruto, this revelation must remain a secret until the right time comes. Revealing this information would only make you an easier target, especially now, with the recent development of your eyes. If your true heritage came to light, you would face endless persecution, he warned. You have to be careful. You're a party pooper, Grandpa, Naruto said, pouting. And what's the plan then? He asked. As you continue to grow and develop, hide your abilities from the public, your fellow shinobi and your superiors, even me. From what I see, there's a security breach, so anything you tell me could be at risk. He is acting with discretion until he resolves these matters, Irizen said. So what? To be the last of the series? Naruto said. It might be a good idea, but you don't have to, Irizen said with a chuckle. Keep your true power a secret until you are strong enough to protect yourself from potential threats. Naruto took one hand out of his pocket before looking at her. He felt a surge of emotion. Things have gotten a lot more interesting, he said, looking at Irizen. Thank you, Gigi. I appreciate you telling me all this, even though you didn't have to. I mean it, he added earnestly. Of course, I want you to feel comfortable to come and talk to me. Even though we are not blood relatives, I consider you my grandson, Urzu said quietly. Thank you, Naruto replied. Also, Naruto, don't let the hatred in your heart consume you. I've seen too many talented shinobi fail in trying to overcome the darkness in their hearts. I would ask you to reconsider your stance towards the villagers. Not everyone is bad, Irizen said. Yes, of course, Naruto said, downplaying the old man's comments. Irizen simply sighed. When they finally arrived, the sun had already risen over the horizon, tinting the sky with pink and orange tones. Rays of light pierced through the clouds, announcing the beginning of a new day. You still have a while before classes start at the academy, Irizen said as he arrived at Naruto's door. Let me know if you need anything, Naruto. Yeah, see you, Gigi, Naruto said. Goodbye, Naruto. He replied before disappearing in a cloud of smoke. Konoha Ninja Academy. Naruto suddenly woke up, realizing that he had fallen asleep. Exhausted after his conversation with Irizen, he had opted for a nap before going to the academy, but forgot to set the alarm. He quickly put on a black long-sleeved t-shirt and gray shorts, grabbed his glasses, and left his apartment. He was about to start running, but then he realized that it would be a waste of time. Naruto decided to take the scenic route to the academy, and did it at his own pace. He entered whistling through the doors of the academy, indifferent to his tardiness. Strolling through the corridors and stopping from time to chat with the boys. When he got to his classroom, he opened the sliding door. As soon as he entered, he felt all the eyes on him. He looked around and saw the surprised and curious expressions of his companions. He wondered what was going on until he remembered he was wearing his new glasses. These completely hid her eyes, giving her a mysterious and attractive air. In addition, he looked more mature and handsome, as the glasses enhanced his facial features and snow-white hair. The girls in the class were especially impressed by her new look. They felt a turn in their heart and blushed. They couldn't believe that he was the same Naruto they had ignored and ridiculed since they entered the academy. Suddenly, they felt a new attraction and interest for him, wondering if he would have a girlfriend. Naruto decided to have some fun with this. She slightly lowered her glasses, revealing her stunning blue eyes. Naruto-kun. The girls squealed enthusiastically, captivated by his attractiveness. Sit next to me, Naruto-kun. No, sit next to me. They chanted. Naruto. Iruka's voice echoed in the room. What the hell are you doing? And why are you an hour late? Naruto pulled up his glasses naturally, meeting his sensei's stern gaze. Relax, sensei. I'm just catching up on sleep. It's nothing serious, he replied, waving his hands with a nonchalant air. Iruka sighed. This boy thought as his eyelids trembled. Have a seat, Naruto. As Naruto looked around the classroom, he couldn't help but notice the surprised looks the boys were exchanging. Their envy visible while he was enjoying the attention. Amused by his reactions, Naruto let out a laugh, finding the situation hilarious. Some students looked at him even weirder, thinking he had gone crazy. His eyes roamed the room, searching for an empty seat, until they landed on someone in particular. Oh, Sasuke! Naruto exclaimed, walking resolutely towards Lucia. Inwardly, Sasuke groaned, a silent plea for relief echoing in his thoughts. Naruto caught up to Sasuke and slapped him on the shoulder. Fate has conspired to bring us together once more. We are meant to be best friends, Naruto stated with a smile. Sasuke glared at him, rubbing his shoulder where Naruto's hand had touched him. He decided to ignore it and concentrate on the blackboard, hoping that Naruto would find another seat if they left him alone. He had wished for it to be a quiet day, but to his great chagrin, Naruto sat down next to him. Come on, Sasuke, this is how you treat your best friend. Naruto joked, playfully tapping Sasuke on the cheek with a mischievous smile. Sasuke's eye twitched. His patience was wearing thin. He slapped Naruto's hand away. Stop it, you idiot. You're not my friend. You're a nuisance. A female voice intervened. Who is your new friend, Sasuke-san? Naruto turned around and saw a girl sitting behind Sasuke. She looked like him, with the same features. She had long, silky hair down to her waist. She was wearing a short-sleeved black dress with brown shorts underneath. She had a confident and graceful posture, and her eyes sparkled with curiosity. She wore a kind and cheerful smile. He waved at Naruto with his hand. Naruto slightly lowered his glasses and looked at her. You are Kijomi Uchiha, Sasuke Uchiha's twin sister and Itachi Uchiha's younger sister, he said. How do you know that? Sasuke thought, first with Itachi and now with her. You are strong, just like your brothers. I can see that, Naruto said, getting excited. Kijomi laughed. Itachi was right to describe you. Nice to meet you. I heard you cheated on my brother the other day. Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I'm the only one who can mess with him, she said, pinching her brother's cheek. No, it's mine, Naruto said in a playful tone as he pulled on Sasuke's arm. Sasuke was in the middle of a tug-of-war between his sister and Naruto, who were laughing at him, having a great time. The situation did not look good. I already had to deal with Kijomi's antics, but now, with the addition of Naruto, everything was going to get considerably worse. After finishing the class, Naruto turned to Kijomi. How about the three of us eat ramen? He said. Ramen, that would be great. Great? I love ramen, she replied enthusiastically. Have you ever tried Ichiraku's miso ramen with pork? She looks amazing. Naruto said. Kijomi and Naruto continued to argue about the different types of ramen until Sasuke interrupted them. No, we can't. Kasen said to come home early, he said. Please, Sasuke, please, please. Can you do it for your big sister? Kijomi said with puppy dog eyes. No. He shouted, irritated. Besides, you're barely older than me. Come on, Sasuke. Let's have some ramen. Please. Naruto intervened with the same puppy dog eyes. Kijomi and Naruto knelt down, pleading with Sasuke. They were like that 4 or 5 minutes before Sasuke finally gave in. He sighed. I might. We can order ramen. Just make it quick. If we get into trouble, the fault will be yours, he said, annoyed that they had succeeded. Yes. Ramen, ramen, ramen. Naruto and Kijomi shouted as they walked in a circle or around Sasuke. Let's go, they said as they grabbed Sasuke by the collar of his shirt and dragged him to Ishirakuruman. From a distant rooftop, Itachi was watching them. Happy to see his brothers and Naruto getting along, he knew they would need his joy in the future. Sooner rather than later, Itachi thought sadly. Her eyes filled with tears as she thought about the future. 1 year later, on October 9th, Uchiha Complex, Sasuke was in complete darkness. Everywhere I looked and stepped, everything was black. He walked for an eternity, until he heard a growl in the distance. As he turned his head towards the growl, he saw 2 wolves staring at him, one with black fur and the other with white fur. They had some strange marks on their forehead. They growled at him, showing their fangs, ready to attack him at any moment. Sasuke tried to run away, but they chased him. He ran in the dark until he stumbled upon a huge cocoon. The cocoon was suspended in the air by a thread and contained a gigantic creature inside. A shiver ran down Sasuke's spine, and horror and terror seized him at that sight. What is this? He thought, as he turned around and saw the 2 wolves and other creatures staring at him. He saw a giant snake, a monstrous toad, and an owl with a white mask, among others. They surrounded him. As he approached, the cocoon began to open, revealing a frightening vision. A creature without eyes, with 4 wings sprouting from its eye sockets, and a tail-like appendage sticking out of the back of its neck. It had an 8-handled wheel and a karma chakra on it. The creature grabbed Sasuke by the neck, squeezing hard. Sasuke's consciousness was fading. He tried to fight, he tried to scream for help, but no one came. Sasuke! 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 A voice shouted, echoing in the darkness as he sank into unconsciousness, and everything turned black. Sasuke woke up and saw that his sister was shaking him. Sasuke! She screamed. It's time to get ready for school. I've been trying to wake you up for 5 minutes. Are you okay? He asked with concern in his eyes. Sasuke sat up on the bed and put a hand to his head. It's nothing, just a nightmare, he said. We're leaving in a few minutes. Just letting you know that oxen made breakfast, he said. Sasuke nodded. She got dressed, still taking in the nightmare, wondering what it meant. He went down the stairs and bumped into Itachi, who was about to leave. Nor isn't, I thought it would have been you by now, Sasuke said. Itachi turned to look at his younger brother. I was about to leave. I have a busy day ahead of me, Itachi replied coldly. Could you help me with the shuriken training after class today? Sasuke asked. Itachi got up and walked towards Sasuke. He tapped his brother on the forehead, a gesture he used to make. I'm sorry, Sasuke. Maybe another time, he said before leaving the house. Sasuke, somewhat irritated with Itachi, entered the kitchen, where he saw his sister and father having breakfast. While his mother was washing the dishes, he sat down at the table and picked up a plate of food. She ate while listening to her sister talking to her father. Hey, Dad, when do you think Sasuke and I will unlock the Sharingan? My brother unlocked it when he was 8, but we haven't unlocked it yet, Kijomi asked. Fugaku took a sip of his tea before answering. If you train hard enough, you will be able to unlock as fast as your brother. But remember, Itachi is extraordinary, a prodigy among prodigies. He paused. He became a genius at the age of 6 years, in Chunin at 10, in Honin at 12, and was recently promoted to Captain Ambu. Wow, my Izan is amazing, Kijomi said. Sasuke nodded his head. Tuzan, could you help me with the shuriken training after class? He asked. Fugaku closed his eyes. No, Sasuke. I have important matters to attend to. As the head of the clan, I have a great responsibility, especially regarding our current relationship with the Leaf, he said as he got up and left the room. Why don't you ask Naruto for help? He has helped me a lot, Kijomi said. Naruto Uzumaki? His mother, Mikoto, asked curiously. Yes, Naruto Uzumaki, snow-white hair, black glasses. Do you know him, Oxen? Sasuke asked. No, I never met him personally, but I did meet his mother, Mikoto said with a smile. She was kind and loyal to those who called her a friend. Can we meet her? Kijomi asked innocently. Mikoto was saddened. No, it wouldn't be possible. There was a long silence in the room. But I'm glad they seem to be getting along, Mikoto said, breaking the silence. I think it's time for them to leave so they won't be late. She took 2 bags and handed them to her children. Here's your lunch, he said, kissing them on the forehead. And Sasuke-kun, I can help you with your after-school training. Kijo-chan, make sure you take care of him. I love you both very much, she added. I love you too, Oxen replied Kijomi, hugging his mother. Sasuke didn't say anything while holding his lunch. So you don't want me, Sasuke-kun said, joking with his son before approaching him and tickling him. I saw that you want your oxen, added in a playful tone. Sasuke finally gave in. I love you, Oxen, she said tenderly. Oh, look at Sasuke-chan, holding his sweet oxen. Kijomi said, joking with his brother. Sasuke ignored her as he hugged his mother, still thinking about the nightmare he had had. The 2 of them walked out the door, waving to their mother as they headed to the academy. Konoha Ninja Academy. All right, guys, it's time to calm down. Iruka shouted from the front of the classroom. We have a math test today. You will have 1 hour to complete it. You can start once you receive the exam from Professor Mizuki. Mizuki handed out the exams to the students. Where is Naruto? Kijomi asked as he looked for his friend with his gaze. He probably fell asleep again. He's always late for class, Sasuke replied. They received their exams and started. 10 minutes after the exam was over, Naruto finally showed up. Iruka shouted at him right away, but Naruto ignored him. Then he took a test and sat down. This idiot, Sasuke thought as he watched Naruto sit down. This exam was difficult. It took him the whole time to answer 13 of the 15 questions. He had to hurry if he wanted to finish. However, what Sasuke didn't prepare for, nor did anyone else in the class, was for Naruto to complete his exam in 2 minutes. Get up, hand the exam back to Iruka, and leave the room. It was the collective thought of the whole class when they saw Naruto coming out. He didn't seem stressed at all. It was as if the exam was a joke to him. It was impossible that he had got any of them right. These problems were too long. He must have given up, Sasuke thought. He pushed those thoughts aside and continued with the time he had left. All right, let them law. The exam is over, Iruka said as Mizuki picked up the exams. You will have a short break while we correct these exams. We will resume the class after we finish correcting. After the exam, everyone went out to relax. Kijomi ran to his brother to talk to him about the exam. How was it? He asked. It was difficult and quite long. I don't remember studying anything from the exam syllabus. If I scored a 70, I'm already satisfied. It was hard, but I think I did it right, Sasuke replied. Did you think that was difficult? A voice shouted from above. The twins looked up and saw Naruto lying on a tree branch with his hands behind his head. That was easy, Naruto said as he got up and jumped up to face the brothers. I really should have come later, he yawned. Sasuke glared at Naruto as he stood in front of them. He wondered how someone so lazy and irresponsible could be so arrogant and brazen. He had spent an entire hour trying hard, while Naruto had overcome him in a matter of minutes. How was it possible? There's no way you passed that exam, Naruto, Sasuke snapped. It was probably terrible for you. You couldn't have finished so quickly. We didn't even watch most of the content. Naruto let out a loud and annoying laugh that echoed in Sasuke's ears. We'll see, Sasuke. After all, I am the smartest in the class, he replied sarcastically. Sasuke was unmoved by Naruto's statements. He was delirious as usual. Naruto hardly ever went to class. I only did it when there was homework, exam or school field trip. Before they could continue with the conversation, Mizuki called the students back to class as they had finished correcting the exams. He followed Naruto and Kijomi back to the classroom. I was sure that I had done well despite the difficulty of the exam. He was confident in his intelligence and abilities. I was convinced that I had obtained the best grade in the class. "All right, calm down everyone," Iruka said, holding up a stack of papers. "We have corrected your exams." The goal was to see how they would cope with complex issues. "We haven't covered more than half of the concepts in this exam, but by the time they graduate from the academy, these questions will be easy for them. Most got bad results, but some got good ones," he concluded. Mizuki returned the corrected exams to the students. Among the students who obtained good grades, Imada Yuga, Shino Aburame, Sakura Aruno, and Inoue Manaka stood out. Sasuke looked down at his exam and got a 75%, not bad, since the score closest to his was 65%. Kijomi looked at his exam and saw a 60%. "Ah, I thought I had done better," she said, saddened by her note. "Cheer up, Kijomi," Sasuke replied. "We hadn't learned most of this and you have scored in the top 10, he said encouragingly. Kijomi perked up a little when he heard his brother's words. He turned to Naruto and asked, "What has touched you?" Naruto said with a smile, "I scored a 100. Loud enough for the whole class to hear. I already told you. I'm the smartest." Everyone in the class started to mumble. "Naruto, a 100. Impossible, he always gets the worst grades and never arrives on time," they said. "I'm sure he cheated." "No, he didn't," Iruka said, silencing the murmurs. "Congratulations, Naruto. You got a perfect score. You did an amazing job." Sasuke couldn't believe it. He looked at Naruto, who was grinning from ear to ear, waving his exam in the air, celebrating his victory. She looked at Kijomi, who was clapping and cheering for his friend, proud of his achievement. The whole class was confused. How was it possible? "All right, that's enough, guys. We still have work to do today," Iruka said. "Who is he?" Sasuke thought as he watched Naruto continue to brag about his achievement. After finishing the classes at the academy, Kijomi, Naruto, and Sasuke went outside. "Hey, Sasuke, do you want to train with us?" Kijomi asked his brother. "No, I'm going to go to practice," he just replied. "Are you sure you don't want to receive instruction from the best student?" Naruto intervened. "I don't want your help, you idiot," Sasuke replied. "See you later, Sasuke-san," Kijomi said as he waved goodbye to his brother before leaving with Naruto. Sasuke watched the two of them chatting with irritation reflected on his face. He was disgusted by the closeness they were showing. He couldn't stand Naruto's antics, and seeing him with his sister made his blood boil. Suppressing those thoughts, he headed in the opposite direction to practice his shuriken jutsu. Sasuke took aim and threw another shuriken at the wooden target, this time hitting the target. A proud smile was drawn on his lips, savoring this small achievement. As he picked up another shuriken from the ground, the silvery glow of the moon caught his attention, announcing the arrival of night. Wondering why no one had come to look for him, he quickly put his shuriken in his backpack and ran towards the Uchiha district. "I hope Kijomi arrived safely," he thought as he ran through the village. As Sasuke was approaching the entrance of the Uchiha district, a sudden chill ran down his spine. He looked up and spotted a mysterious figure perched on a nearby post, staring at him. Sasuke blinked, and in an instant, the enigmatic presence vanished into thin air. "What? I thought I saw someone," he thought. It was then that he noticed the corpses of his clan members lying in the streets. He smelled of blood and fire, and he felt a sudden surge of fear and confusion. What was going on? Had there been an attack? Who was attacking your clan? He ran faster, hoping to find his family safe and sound. He kept coming across burned, stabbed, and even mutilated bodies. He saw familiar faces contorted by pain and terror, but also unfamiliar bodies. There were bodies with animal masks and black cloaks scattered everywhere. I didn't know who those people were. Sasuke kept running. He saw blood splattered on the walls and the floor. He saw flames devouring houses and shops. He saw destruction and death everywhere. He felt his blood run cold and his stomach churn. I felt like throwing up. I felt like crying. I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't understand who would do something like that or why. He ran faster towards his house, hoping that his parents and siblings were still alive. He came to his house and saw that the door was open. He ran in and called his family. Kasen, Tuzan, Nisan, Nasan. Where are they? Are they okay? She cried out, her voice heavy with a mixture of worry and despair. He got no response. He felt a twinge of despair. He ran into the living room and opened the door. However, what he found there was a vision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. He saw his father kneeling, badly beaten, bloodied and bruised. Sasuke heard footsteps and looked up. A figure stood out from the shadows, a red eye glowing in the darkness. The figure came closer, revealing more details. He was tall, with long black hair, wore an orange mask with black swirls that covered his face, except for a circular opening on the right side, and carried a sheathed katana hanging from his belt. In his left hand, he was holding Sasuke's mother by the neck, strangling her to death. Sasuke, stay away. Croak Fugaku. She tried to move to protect her son, but she couldn't because of the injuries the masked man had inflicted on her. Mom! Sasuke shouted in terror. His legs were shaking, but he wanted to do something to save his mother. However, he remained paralyzed, helplessly watching as the intruder held her down. Silly girl, growled the masked man, as he twisted his mother's neck with a quick movement. Sasuke heard an eerie crack, followed by a thud, as his mother's inert body fell to the ground. Blood was dripping from her mouth and nose as he watched her lying on the floor. Sasuke Jade felt the tears sting her eyes today. He clutched his head, screaming in agony as he collapsed to the ground. No, no, no. Mom! Why did you do this to me? He said between sobs. The masked man let out a mocking giggle and passed over his mother's corpse. He looked at Sasuke with contempt and pity. You are a naive child. Wake up to reality. In this cursed world, nothing goes as planned, he said in a cold, cruel voice. The longer you live, the more you will realize that the only thing that exists in this reality is pain, suffering, and futility. He stared at Sasuke, his red eyes burning with rage. The Uchiha clan was once the most feared and respected in the village, but now they have been relegated to the scum. They have fallen prey to the false peace of Konoha, and have lost their pride and their power. How can you call yourself Uchiha, when you are nothing but the son of a weak and foolish woman? They bring nothing but shame to the name Uchiha, and I will annihilate them. Weak. You're a monster. You will pay for this, I swear. Sasuke clenched his fists and ground his teeth, standing up with a defiant look. Sasuke felt a surge of chakra in his eyes, and his vision sharpened. His eyes burned with a crimson light, revealing a 2-tamo Sharingan in his right eye and one of a 1-tamo in the left. He could feel his chakra running through his body. He also perceived a strange connection with the shadows that surrounded him. So you want to dance, right? Said the masked man, mocking him. Well then, let's dance. Without thinking, he put his hands together, forming a hand seal in the shape of a dog. And Gyokuken, divine dogs. He exclaimed. He heard a low growl, followed by a howl, as 2 large figures emerged from the shadows behind him. They were 2 twin wolves, one with white fur and the other with black fur. They had red eyes and 3 dots forming a triangle on the forehead of opposite orientation. Mum, this is getting interesting, the masked man said as he dodged the approaching paw of the white masked man. Sasuke lunged forward, throwing a punch at the assailant, but did nothing to him. It was as if his fist was going through it. You have fire, kid, but you don't have what it takes to dance yet, the masked man said as he kicked Sasuke in the stomach, sending him flying through the wall and crashing to the pavement outside. Sasuke rolled on the ground before crashing into the wall of the complex, creating a crater from the impact. He coughed up blood and was seriously injured by the attack. The wolves pounced on their master to protect him, attacking the masked man. But, as before, his fists seemed to pierce through him. "That's enough," the masked man exclaimed as he kicked the black wolf away and jumped to the left, dodging another attack from the white wolf. He untied his katana and, with a quick vertical slash, decapitated him. His head rolled on the ground, leaving a pool of blood. He turned his attention to Sasuke as he walked towards the boy, who was lying propped up against the walls of the enclosure. Blood was running down Sasuke's head, clouding his eyesight. He felt his chakra fading away, along with his Sharingan. The black wolf groaned and merged with his shadow, leaving him alone and helpless. "You're weak, kid. You still have a lot to learn," the man said as he raised his katana, the blade of which glowed in the moonlight, preparing to end Sasuke's life. Before he could attack, he was surrounded by a squad of ambos wearing animal-shaped masks, black clothes covered with a bulletproof vest, light gray wings on the back and torso, gloves with metal guards, sandals with reinforced toe, and somewhat on the back. The squad captain, Doc, stands on the compound wall, keeping an eye on Sasuke and the masked intruder. Through the hole of the left eye, a lone Sharingan shone. "You're under arrest for the destruction of the Uchiha clan. If you resist, you will die," Doc said. "Humph, you're late as usual." "I'm done here, it's not time to reveal myself yet," the man said before a swirl appeared in his eye. Sucking it into the hole, he vanished into thin air, leaving behind a faint ripple. They watched as the assailant disappeared. "Look for survivors. I'll take the boy back to the Okajima." "Let's go," he said. "Dog." "Yes, Captain." They responded before dispersing. Dog grabbed Sasuke, who was now unconscious, and headed towards the village. Konoha Training Camp 11. Naruto walked painfully through the dark forest, where the moonlight barely filtered through the thick treetops. He was carrying Kijomi on his back, whose chest was gently rising and falling. She had fallen asleep after training, too tired to walk. Naruto could feel his breath on the back of his neck as he kept walking. This was new to him. I didn't know what to think or feel about it. However, Naruto snapped out of his thoughts as he felt someone approaching at high speed. It was a chakra similar to that of the man who had followed him before, cold and emanated an unfathomable emptiness. Just before the unknown figure arrived firm where Naruto was, he slowed down. It was as if she was playing with him, trying to scare him and instill fear in him. Naruto got fed up and shouted at him, "Hey, coward, come out and face me. Or are you just too scared?" A man in a black cape and an animal-shaped mask came out into the moonlight, carrying a cradle and in his left hand. "I'm here for the girl. Give her to me, and I won't hurt you," he said emotionlessly. Naruto laughed. "Hurt me? You?" he said before glaring at the man. "How can you hurt me if you're already dead?" The hooded man barely had time to assimilate Naruto's words before feeling a sharp pain in his neck. She gasped, dropping her crib and clutching her throat. As he fell to the ground, he saw a tall figure, with black hair and blood-stained clothes, standing over him. The figure's eyes glowed red. "It is you," he said before choking on his own blood. The figure, without turning its head, said to Naruto, "Protect my sister," before fading into the night. "I'll do it, Itachi," Naruto said. Office of the Hokage of Konoha. Irizen Sarutobi was sitting in his chair, contemplating the quiet village. From there, everything seemed so peaceful and serene. However, Irizen knew that this was far from reality. The last few days had been a real hell for the elder Hokage. A week had passed since the devastation of the Uchiha clan. An attack by a masked intruder and an unknown secondary force had wiped out 95% of the clan. He sighed. Just when relations between the Uchiha clan and the village seemed to have improved and everything seemed to be going well, tragedy struck them. Not only was the Uchiha clan on the verge of extinction, but the village also lost much of its military police and its best shinobi. As for the Uchiha who survived, most of them were seriously injured. Women and children were strategically targeted. The only Uchiha children left were Sasuke and his sister, Kijomi. The clan leader, Fugaku Uchiha, had survived his injuries, so there was still a leadership in what was left of the clan. However, Fugaku's chakra network had been completely disrupted, which meant that his days as a combatant were over. She was supposed to meet with him today, as she had been informed that Fugaku was stable and able to get out of bed. They had a lot to talk about. Iruzen also had other unfinished business. The death of Dan Shimura. He suspected that his former friend was involved in the Uchiha massacre. Reports indicated that the bodies of the unknown secondary force, found near the Uchiha district, were wearing animal masks similar to those of the Zambu and black capes. After examining them, it was discovered that the unknown ninjas were missing ninjas from Konoha. Orphans who had disappeared at the age of 4. Their bodies also had a cursed seal on their tongue. Dansmera Antiusha, a trait he had acquired from his sensei, the second Hokage, Toriyama Senju. He was responsible for the tension between the Leaf and the Uchiha clan after the Kikui attack, blaming the Uchiha and spreading rumors among the villagers. Iruzen knew the shinobi from Danzum route, but he did not believe that they were so numerous, or capable of launching such an attack against the Uchiha. There was also Itachi Uchiha. Reports indicated that the only person in the vicinity was Itachi, as the time and place of his sighting coincided with the possible time of Dansmo's death. No one has heard from Itachi since the tragic event. Due to these factors, Itachi has been listed as an S-rank renegade ninja in the book Bingo, and singled out as an accomplice to the Uchiha massacre and an ally of the masked intruder. Iruzen did not believe that Itachi was capable of massacring his clan. Itachi valued the village above his clan, and was willing to act if a civil war broke out. But Iruzen believed he could solve the problem without bloodshed. Iruzen wanted to wait for Itachi to return to be judged and explain his actions. However, the Konoha Council had already voted to declare him a traitor. It was the quickest and easiest option, instead of starting a long investigation. And Lucen leaned back in his chair. I needed to find a successor so I wouldn't have to deal with those problems and politics. However, Iruzen was put out of his thoughts upon hearing a knock at his door. Pass, answered Iruzen curiously. I wasn't expecting visitors at that hour. An older man, the same age as Iruzen, came through the door. He had gray hair, medium length and combed backwards, that reached up to the back of his neck. His eyes were onyx-colored, and his eyebrows, long and bushy, had well-defined edges. He sported a long, thin mustache that fell on both sides of his cheeks. She was wearing a light origris over a dark blue yukata, with a black bed, white tab and brown sandals. Naobito. It's been a long time, old friend, Iruzen said. A lot has happened since I last saw you. Save it for later, Iruzen. We can catch up having a drink, Naobito said with a laugh. Iruzen felt a shiver run down his spine. He knew his old friend's drinking habits, and knew it would end badly for his pocket. I guess you're not just coming to chat with an old friend, he said. No, the news of the Uchiha clan massacre has spread quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if it had reached the other great nations, Shinobi Naobito replied. I also heard about Dan's. Naobito sat down, crossing his arms over his chest. That bastard finally got what he deserved. But the main reason I'm here is because of the Uchiha clan. How many are there left? At the moment, there are 10 left, Iruzen replied. And my daughter? Naobito asked. Sadly, he passed away that night, Iruzen said, lowering his gaze. I see, Naobito replied gravely. Is Fugaku still alive? Yes, I have been informed from the hospital that he has recovered, but that his chakra network has suffered permanent damage. I may never use ninjutsu again, Iruzen said. I was planning to go there before you arrived. We can go now, and I'll explain the situation to you on the way. Naobito nodded, and they both left Iruzen's office. When they arrived at the Konoha hospital, the receptionist greeted them and led them to the isolated ward where all the Uchiha were. Iruzen had stationed a large number of ambus to guard the entrance and the corridors. Outside Fugaku's room, there were 2 ambus. Iruzen greeted them and asked them to open the door. These obeyed, and Iruzen and Naobito entered the room. Fugaku sat up on his bed, while the nurses moved around him. He looked at Irison and Naobito when they entered the room with neutral expression. Okage-sama said in a monotone voice, "Fugaku, how are you feeling?" Irison asked sincerely. Naobito didn't say anything and just leaned against the wall with his arms crossed. He yawned deeply and seemed disinterested. "I'm fine," Okage-sama said as he stood up. "We have more important matters to discuss." Irison felt a twinge of guilt and regret. "I believe that if I had been more vigilant like Okage, this tragedy would not have happened." He cleared his throat. "Yes, we do." A sepulchral silence reigned in the room until Naobito spoke. "If you have already finished, here is our proposal. The remaining Uchiha will be transferred to a compound closer to the village and the police building, preferably near the Ikega clan compound. This way, the villagers will be able to see the Uchiha clan instead of it being the mysterious group that arrests them. In addition, thanks to the proximity between the two clans, we can establish a relationship between them," Irison intervened. "And what about the political power of the Uchiha clan? Our image and strength have been severely affected," Fugaku asked. "Yes, boy, we know. That's why I'm replacing Danzm on the Council of Elders. This will balance political power and restore goodwill in the village," Naobito said. "He will remain on the Council of Elders until the Uchiha population reaches a healthy level," Irison added. "Do you agree with this proposal?" Fugaku reflected for a moment and said, "Yes, I agree." "Great, we can talk more if you want. I know that you are going to pick up your children at the academy, and I will come with you," Irison said. "Before we leave, I need to talk to him alone," Naobito said. "Give us a few minutes." "Of course," Irison said before leaving the room with the nurses. Naobito waited for the door to close before speaking. "So, are you sure he owns her?" Fugaku felt. "Yes, he formed a hand seal in the shape of a dog that summoned two wolves." Naobito rubbed his chin. "After 100 years, the Takuzen Kage Mujutsu technique of the 10 Shadows has returned to the Uchiha clan. Who else knows? Besides the two of us, the man who killed Mikoto has seen him. He may be coming after Asuke," Fugaku replied. Naobito's stern face turned into a smile. "Things are getting interesting," he said. Fugaku simply nodded, thinking about everything that had happened. Konoha Ninja Academy. "Okay, class, we're doing combat drills and assessments today. Meet me outside," Iruka said. While everyone was getting up, Naruto came in. He smiled and waved to his companions, but no one smiled back. Everyone seemed tense and nervous, as if they were walking on shells again. "Hey, Iruka-sensei. I heard that we are going to train today," he said enthusiastically. Iruka's eyelid trembled. "Yes, Naruto." "Now, go outside," he said. The students came out, but remained silent, whispering to each other. Naruto noticed the change in the environment. I had no idea why the atmosphere was so tense. He knew about the tragedy, and it hurt him to see such a powerful clan reduced to so few members. But that had nothing to do with him or anyone who was not Acha. There was no point in being so pessimistic. I thought everyone would have gotten over it by now, but apparently not. Naruto looked for the source to that chakra with his eyes. He detected a shadow chakra emanating from the Uchiha twins. I could see him impregnating Sasuke. It had affected everyone in the class. He also tormented his sister. Naruto frowned. I didn't understand why Sasuke was acting like a little kid. He decided to turn to the Uchiha twins to better understand what was happening between them. "Hi Kijomi-chan, Sasuke, how are you?" he said. "Hey, Naruto, we're fine," she said. Sasuke didn't say anything and walked past Naruto. Naruto watched Sasuke as he walked away from them. "I guess he's still out there sulking," he said as he turned to Kijomi. "Yes, he doesn't talk to anyone anymore, not even to me," Kijomi said flat-headed. "He's turned his back on me. I can't even talk to him. I want to help. He is not the only one who suffers," he said with tears in his eyes. Naruto felt a twinge of pity for her. He reached out and put a hand on her shoulder. "I'll talk some sense into him. Don't worry," he said with a smile, raising his thumb in approval. He put his hands in his pockets as he walked towards Choji and Shikamaru. A smile appeared on Kijomi's face. "Thank you, Naruto-kun," he said. When everyone left, Iruka and the other instructors stopped to make sure they had the correct number of students. "Well, we will conduct combat exercises here. These exercises will be part of the graduation exam. We will keep track of his performance and progress over the years," Iruka said. "There will be ninjutsu training, training with ninja tools, taijutsu training, and one-on-one combat against your teammates. The Hokage will also be watching his performances. Make sure you give your best today." "Understood," added Iruka. "Yes, sensei," the students responded. "All right, that's the attitude. Now form 4 equal rows in single file," he said. The exams started, and the students demonstrated their skills. Naruto, however, had other plans. He saw the opportunity to sneak out when the teachers were busy with the other students. He wanted to have fun for a while and take a nap because he was sleepy. He quickly ran to a nearby tree and sat down on a branch, hidden among the others. He watched the students as they took the various tests and made a mental note of those who had done well. As expected, the Uchiha twins excelled in taijutsu, ninjutsu, and genjutsu. Sasuke dominated the shuriken throw, while Kijomi had difficulty hitting a single target. And Mata Ichiga promised a lot so far, but he looked shy and unsure of himself. Shikamaru took the exams with little effort. Shino Aburame also impressed in every aspect. "We have talent in this class," Naruto thought. Meanwhile, Iruka was calling Naruto by name for the shuriken launch. "Naruto Uzumaki," Ben said Iruka. "Nothing." "Naruto Uzumaki, come on," repeated Iruka. Again, there was no response. Everyone looked around. They had seen him just a few minutes ago. Where could he have gone? Iruka called out to Naruto once more, but got no response. He sighed and scored a 0 on the remaining tests and training. Naruto let out a giggle from the tree as he continued to watch. After completing the exercises, the students took a break for lunch. Kijomi approached Sasuke and tried to eat with him, but he rejected her.